Welcome everybody into the second episode of Prattville Live's Talk of the Town. I'm Will Barrett, and today we have a very special guest, Miss Ann Boutwell from the Autauga County Heritage Foundation. We're going to be talking about all things Daniel Pratt, Continental Gin, things you may know about, some things you may, and some things I promise you won't know about until you hear it from Miss Boutwell today. But Ann, thank you for joining us. This is a great thing to have you here with us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We're excited to be able to share what the Autauga County Heritage Association does in this community.
Now, some people watching may be hearing Autauga County Heritage Foundation for the very first time. Shame on them. Tell us a little bit about what the Autauga County Heritage Foundation does, how it got started, and what your role is.
Okay, it's association rather than foundation.
But shame on me.
That's okay. We have been in existence since 1976. As buildings were lost in the community, a group of individuals, before I ever moved to Prattville, became concerned that we were losing our history, and the charter members started the association for the mission of saving our local history, preserving it, and sharing it to the public. We manage the Pratt Museum in downtown Prattville, historic downtown Prattville in Main Street.
Beautiful building.
Yes, it is. The city owns the building. It was given to the city by a family here in town with the stipulation that it be a museum. And the city takes very good care of the building for us. But the Heritage Association, we manage the museum, we create all the displays, we do the tours, the walking tours in the spring. We have groups that come and do reunions. We have people who come to do genealogy from all over the United States, and they use our archival room, our library, and we feel like that what we do in this community is most significant and helpful to the community. Oh,
absolutely. And this community is an old community, founded in 1839 by Daniel Pratt, who basically was one of the chief linchpins for the Industrial Revolution of the South. Talk about Daniel Pratt's significance in all this, and part of the big thing that we celebrate in this city is his legacy. Many people don't know anything about him. Talk about what the Autauga County Heritage Association has learned about Daniel Pratt, his successes, his wealth, his vision.
Okay. Well, I could be here all week talking about Daniel Pratt. He was such a remarkable person. He did come to Alabama in 1833, and his first location was on Mortar Creek, which is now in Elmore County, but was Autauga at that time. Then he moved to Autauga Creek, but it was 2.5 miles down from the dam in downtown Prattville. It was John McNeil's grist mill, and he leased water power from John McNeil for $125 a year.
Not bad.
And that was the site of Pratt's first gin shop, you might say. He built a 2-story frame structure. He brought with him from Georgia a few slaves that worked for him. They were mechanics, helped build the cotton gins, and he and his wife lived upstairs. The workers, they lived downstairs where the gins were put together, and I have read that Mrs. Pratt even helped with painting the finished gins.
Wow. Yeah.
And so from there, he purchased the land that became Prattville. A lot of different biographies say he purchased 1,000 acres. It was actually 2,060 acres. Mm-hmm. When you plat the deed, that's what you get, is 2,060 acres. And he started in 1838 moving his gin shop to what is now downtown Prattville. What most people don't realize is that the industrial part of Prattville was on what's now Townside. And the town, the village, the churches, the school, the shops was actually across the creek where the loading dock in the gin company is today.
Wow.
So it's an interesting history. As we look at it today, we think that it's been that way forever. And as we do our research, and we find out that that's not the case. Downtown Prattville, he built his second gin company was a frame building on, like I say, on town side. And he used it until 1854. He built the building with the cupola. The L-shaped building was actually the first brick gin shop on the complex there. The building right along the creek was built in 1848 and 1852. It was added on to, and that building Pratt built for other industries that he initiated and encouraged.
Wow.
Pratt is seen, the significance of his status and his position, and why it's so important that we save this history, is Pratt, he was a native of New Hampshire and was familiar with the Industrial Revolution and the industries of the North. He came south to Georgia and spent over 10 years in Georgia prior to coming to Alabama. And during that time, he was an architect builder. He designed and built some of the most beautiful antebellum homes that are still found in Georgia today. Some are lived in. One has been bequeathed to the Georgia Trust of Historic Preservation as a house museum. And so even prior to coming to Alabama, he had made a name for himself. The last year or so that he was in Georgia, he became associated with Samuel Griswold, who had a small gin shop, and he learned about making cotton gins, building cotton gins, and he was so productive and efficient at it. His skill level was so high that Samuel Griswold made him a partner in the business. And it was Pratt that recommended and suggested that they come to Alabama to start a gin company because the cotton market was moving westward. But I was going to say the significance of Pratt is that he is seen as the one who introduced the Industrial Revolution to the South. Before Pratt came, there was very little large industries in the South, and Prattville became, as we are known today, as the birthplace of industry. That he came, and in building an industrial center, he actually changed the economic climate of the state of Alabama and pretty much of the South. Prior to Pratt's coming, the South was generally an agricultural economy, and with Pratt's coming, industries got a start and took a hold, and he advocated and promoted industry his whole life and actually made a tremendous difference, not only in our local community, but statewide in the United States. And then with his company being an international company, he made a difference, worldwide.
Yeah. You might wonder how Miss Ann Boutwell knows all this. And when we come back from the break, we're gonna tell you how. The Autauga County Heritage Foundation Association, Ms. Boutwell, does so many things to uncover this history, and we're going to learn about it when we come back. You're listening to Talk of the Town on Prattville Live, and we'll be right back.
When choosing which pest control company you will trust to protect your home and family, cost and quality can go hand in hand. Serving the hardworking families of the River region since 1967, the Bowen family has made it our mission to offer top quality service at a price that is fair and affordable. So why pay more to one of the big chains for less service? Call Arrow Pest Control next time you want to enjoy money well spent. We'll guarantee personal service at an affordable price, so give us a call today.
In 1934, Steak and Shake decided the world didn't need another hamburger. They needed a steak burger, so they used 100% beef. Quick seared to seal in the flavor you'll only get from a steak burger. Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger.
New at Steak and Shake, 24 meals under $4. With handcrafted steak burgers, all beef steak franks, and fresh guacamole made from scratch. Get 24 meals for under $4. New at Steak and Shake.
That's what I love about coming to Prattville Pickers. There's always new booths and new things to discover. Over 300 different vendors, and they're really easy to find right off Highway 82 West in Prattville. You see that beautiful brand new sign. You can't miss it. You can also shop online at shopprattvillepickers.com and find them on Facebook as well. Come visit Prattville Pickers and stay tuned for exciting events happening all throughout the year in their special events center right here at Prattville Pickers.
Welcome back to Prattville Live's Talk of the Town. I'm Will Barrett, and joining me today is Miss Ann Boutwell of the Autauga County Heritage Association. We've been talking about Daniel Pratt. We've been talking about the industrial roots of this city, this great city we live in. But one of the things that we need that people may not know is, how in the world did you learn all this? How did you come by all this information? There's a cataloging effort going on.
That's right. That's right. I've been involved with the Autauga County Heritage Association for over 20 years. And in that time, I've done lots of research and have been involved in the Daniel Pratt celebration that we did in 1999. I led that project, and over the years, in reading and learning more and more about Daniel Pratt, we became aware of the historical significance that our community has. Most people who live here do not have a clue that our history is as outstanding, as historically significant as it is. I've had individuals from Washington, D.C., from the Department of Interior, to tell us that our history is every much as important as, say, Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. And, it's significant in that we were the first industrial center in Alabama and pretty much in the South. There are larger industrial cities, but they started after Daniel Pratt did. And, it's the significance of our community, having been a New England village in the South, is in itself quite unique. So I learned that the history was so significant that we needed to do everything possible to save it. When the gin company, when Continental Eagle started outsourcing the building of cotton gins to India, I had the feeling that the days were numbered at the company, and so we made a point at the Heritage Association to get to know the owner, Roger Vermone, and we invited him to the museum. We interviewed him. We wanted him to know who we were. Then after that, Lenore Kirkpatrick, who is my co-partner in this preservation effort, she and I started going to the gin company, and we would go one day a week. We bought a printer, and we had gotten permission from Roger Vermone to copy the historical documents, and we did that for over a year because I was afraid that once they closed, we might lose access to it. Well, in 2012, the day that they closed, we were on site requesting that the historic content of the buildings stay in Prattville. We did not want to see that history dispersed across the world. We felt like it was important that we keep it here in Prattville. Little did I know what a massive undertaking that was. The company had been in business almost 180 years. Wow. So in those buildings, we have found almost 180 years of history. And we put together a volunteer group It's varied from time to time, but we would, when we would get notification that we could move items, I would put out a call the night before, and I'd have a dozen to 15 show up the next morning. We have moved huge amounts of paper documents, patterns, manuals, contracts, GNs, just, you can't imagine. We have items stored in 5 different locations. We, and in 2015, even prior to that, we had received a grant, and just a couple of us started preserving some of the older, the incorporating papers and the contracts and the deeds and things like that dated back, to the 1850s, 1860s. And then in 2015, we received a grant from the Alabama Department of Archives and History to preserve the engineering drawings. Well, we knew we had a lot of drawings, but we did not realize exactly how many we had. To date, with a team of volunteers that have come on Tuesday or Thursday, we work every day, every Tuesday and every Thursday. I've had, over the last 2 years, over 40 different people involved in that effort. Any given week, we have 20 to 25 volunteers that show up. We have cleaned, hydrated, rehydrated, cataloged, and entered that into Excel spreadsheets, and then imported it into museum software. And we are coming to close to the end of that process, and we will have preserved about 30,000 drawings.
30,000 drawings.
The drawings date from 1880 to into the 2000s. We go from the hand-drawn to the CAD drawings. We have found in this collection that we have the drawings of over probably 20 different companies, as Daniel Pratt and Continental Gin Company purchased other cotton ginning related businesses. They, all the records, all the files, records, patterns, drawings of that company came to Prattville, Alabama, and that's why it is such a massive collection. We have the history of Daniel Pratt and Continental Gin Company, but in addition to that, we have almost the history of the entire cotton ginning industry. So it's pretty impressive, and the drawings are fascinating. We see different world events, having an effect on the drawings. We have drawings from World War I. We have drawings from World War II. Few people know that bomb shells, gun turrets, munitions, artillery mounts were made here at the Gin Company here in Prattville.
I did not know that.
And
that's interesting.
At other plants as well. The Gin Company was a huge industry size-wise. I should tell you, I haven't told you this, but in 1899, the Daniel Pratt Gin Company merged with 5 other gin companies, and they formed Continental Gin Company in 1899, and at that time they had plants in Birmingham, Prattville, Atlanta, Dallas, and Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Later they added one in Memphis, and they also had parts and sales offices worldwide. Wherever cotton was grown, they had a sales office. At one time, they had, in the early 1900s, a company in Russia, J. Block, sewed and serviced cotton gins for Continental Gin Company. And J. Block had a contract with the company that they would deposit the profits from the sales in gold rubles into a Russian bank so that at a later date they could be transferred to an American bank. Before that transfer could be taken, could take place, the Bolshevik Revolution happened.
Oh, yeah?
And banks in Russia were confiscated. And so the Continental Gin Company lost all of that income. It was over $200,000 that had been sold in cotton gins in Russia, in that area of the world. Now, who would have thought that a company headquartered in Alabama would have been affected by the Bolshevik Revolution?
Right.
So, and then World War II, we have the drawings and photos of the bombshells. At the museum, the Prattville Museum downtown, we actually have a display on the World War II effort. And we have one of the bombshells that was made at the gin company on display as well as other items.
Fascinating. That is fascinating. We're going to take one more break here on Prattville Alive's Talk of the Town with Miss Ann Boutwell. When we come back, we're going to wrap this thing up. I'm glad you're with us today, and we'll be right back after these words.
That's what I love about coming to Prattville Pickers. There's always new booths and new things to discover. Over 300 different vendors, and they're really easy to find right off Highway 82 west in Prattville. You see that beautiful brand new sign. You can't miss it. You can also shop online at shopprattvillepickers.com and find them on Facebook as well. Come visit Prattville Pickers and stay tuned for exciting events happening all throughout the year in their special events center right here at Prattville Pickers.
Don't throw away your money, especially on replacement auto parts. In most cases, aftermarket parts are just as good and a heck of a lot cheaper than factory parts. D&J Auto Parts in Prattville is all hooked up with Auto Plus, a nationwide leader in the automotive aftermarket. Don't you dare go to another parts store before checking the great prices at D&J Auto Plus, 175 Highway 82 Bypass in Prattville.
When choosing which pest control company you will trust to protect your home and family, cost and quality can go hand in hand. Serving the hardworking families of the River region since 1967, the Bowen family has made it our mission to offer top quality service at a price that is fair and affordable. So why pay more to one of the big chains for less service? Call Aero Pest Control next time you want to enjoy money well spent. We'll guarantee personal service at an affordable price, so give us a call today.
Welcome back to Prattville Alive's Talk of the Town. I'm Will Barrett. With me today is Miss Ann Boutwell from the Autauga County Heritage Association. We've been having a fascinating discussion about Daniel Pratt and the documents contained in the Continental Gin Factory. It's not a mill, it's a factory. Earlier off the air, Miss Boutwell educated me in the difference between a mill and a factory. There is a big difference, and if you want to know the difference, you need to ask her yourself. Proprietary secret. And the plans are now to eventually put these documents that you've been cataloging and storing on public display in some form or fashion. Is that correct?
That's right. That is our hope. We, in preserving the history, the documents, the artifacts, we hope to have a larger museum, an interpretive center to tell the story of Prattville, of Daniel Pratt and Continental Gin Company and Southern industrialization. We have been fortunate to engage Dr. David Alsobrook as a consultant to help us as we're moving forward. David is a retired director of 2 presidential libraries, the George Herbert Bush Library as well as the Clinton Library, and he started with those libraries from the ground up. So he comes with great expertise. He's been to Prattville. He's looked at all of our storage spaces to see what we have, and so we feel very fortunate to have his interest and his guidance. But we hope at some point we will be able to have a larger museum. The museum downtown is overflowing. We have to rotate exhibits in and out, and there's no way possible to display everything that we have. We also we are considering having an archival library. At a later date, we may decide this might be best housed at one of the universities, but all the documents that are being preserved today by volunteers will be saved and made accessible to the public. And we hope that people will be able to come and do genealogy research. We already have people contacting us saying, my great-grandfather worked at the company at such and such a time, and we've been able to find their employment card and see what department they worked in, what their salary was. Lots of times it was 50 cents a day. And so it's been most rewarding and most interesting. Every week we find something really amazing in the drawings, in the photos. We are planning to start in the next week or two on preserving the ledgers. We have approximately 300 ledgers that date back to 1860. Wow. Mm-hmm. They are huge, leather-bound. Some of the covers are not in good shape, so we will be covering the books, putting covers over them, but the insides are pristine, and the information is so interesting. And I was looking in one last week and came across an entry that had 4 cotton gins lost on the Delta Bale or something like that, and I looked it up, and it was actually a riverboat that sunk on the day that this entry was entered. So anyway, we're very hopeful. It's requiring lots of work. All the work is being done, again, by volunteers, and the community has been most supportive. I want to give a shout out to Hancock Bank. If you're not aware, Hancock Bank at the corner of McQueen Smith and Main Street, they offered us 2 years ago the entire 3rd floor as a workspace, and we've been there ever since. It's 5,000 square feet. The work that we're doing would not have been possible without having that contribution, that space, and we hope to be there, in the coming years. We still have a tremendous amount of archives and artifacts to be preserved, but as long as we have volunteers willing to come and work, and we have such a good time. We order lunch out. Some bring their lunch. Everybody, we've gotten to be like family. We have a good time while we work, and we encourage you, if you're interested, we have room for more volunteers. We'll find you a job and put you to work, and encourage you to get involved in the Autauga County Heritage Association.
Man, it's so important now to get involved if you can. As many volunteers as you can stand, I would think at this point, because as the redevelopment of downtown continues, our history continues to fade away. But this effort that the Autauga County Heritage Association is putting forth to preserve it, we get the best of both worlds.
Right.
You get the history, and you get redevelopment at the same time. And so what you guys are doing cannot be understated, the importance of it. So I thank you so much for what you do. And it's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.
It is a real pleasure talking with such a genteel Southern woman as yourself.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing, and we encourage people to join the Heritage Association. We have volunteer opportunities not only in the project I'm working with, but also at the museum, and we certainly can use your support.
Absolutely. So come down, check out the Prattville Museum. If you haven't been there before, it is a gold mine of history and things that you will blow your mind when you see it. There's so much stuff that's happened here. You could not put it in one building. That's why they keep rotating in and out. We need a bigger building. We're going to get one eventually. So, Ms. Boutwell, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Will Barrett. This has been Prattville Live's Talk of the Town, and we'll see you next time.